Okay. I'm reading from To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Atticus, how bad is this going to be? You haven't had too much of a chance to discuss it. It couldn't be worse, Jack. The only thing we've got is a black man's word against the ULs. The evidence boils down to you did, I didn't. The jury couldn't possibly be expected to take Tom Robinson's word against the Yules. Are you acquainted with the Yules? Uncle Jack said yes, he remembered them. He described them to Atticus, but Atticus said, "No, you're a generation off, but the present ones are the same, though." What are you going to do, then? Well, before I'm through, I intend to jar the jury a bit. I think we'll have a reasonable chance on appeal, though. I really can't tell at this stage, Jack. You know, I'd hoped to get through life without a case of this kind, but John Taylor pointed to me and said, "You're it." Well, let this cup pass from you, huh? Right, but do you think I could face my children otherwise? You know what's going to happen as well as I do, Jack, and I hope and pray I can get Jem and Scout through it without bitterness, and most of all, without catching Macomb's usual disease. Why responsible people go stark raving mad when anything involving a Negro comes up is something I don't pretend to understand. I just hope that Jem and Scout come to me for answers instead of listening to the town. I hope they trust me enough. Jean Louise? My scalp jumped. I stuck my head around the corner. Sir? Go to bed. I scurried to my room and went to bed. Uncle Jack was a prince of a fellow for not letting me down, but I never figured out how Atticus knew I was listening, and it was not until many years later that I realized he wanted me to hear every word that he said. Atticus was feeble. He was nearly 50. When Jem and I asked him why he was so old, he said he got started late in life, which we reflected upon his abilities and manliness. He was much older than the parents of our school contemporaries, and there was nothing Jem or I could say about him when our classmates said, "My father." Jem was football crazy. Atticus was never too tired to play keep-away, but Jem wanted to tackle him. Atticus would say, "I'm far too old for that, son." Our father didn't do anything. He worked in an office, not in a drugstore. Atticus did not drive a dump truck for the county. He was not the sheriff. He did not farm. He did not work in a garage or do anything that could possibly arouse the admiration of anyone. Besides that, he wore glasses. He was nearly blind in his left eye, and he said eyes were the tribal curse of the Finches. Whenever he wanted to go see something, he turned his head and looked from his right eye. He did not do anything our schoolmates' fathers did. He never went hunting. He did not play poker or fish or drink or smoke. He sat in the living room and read. With these attributes, however, he would not remain as inconspicuous as we wished him to. That year, the school buzzed with talk about defending Tom Robinson, none of it which was complimentary. After my bout with Cecil Jacobs, when I committed myself to a policy of cowardice, word got around that Scout Finch wouldn't fight anymore. Her daddy wouldn't let her. And this was not entirely correct. I wouldn't fight publicly for Atticus, but the family was a private ground. I would fight anyone from a third cousin upwards, tooth and nail. Francis Hancock, for example, knew that. When we gave our air rifles, Atticus wouldn't teach us to shoot. Uncle Jack instructed us in the rudiments thereof. He said Atticus wasn't interested in guns. Atticus said to Jem one day, "I'd rather you shoot at tin cans in the backyard, but I know you'll go after birds. Shoot all the blue jays you want, if you can hit 'em, but remember it's a sin to kill a mockingbird." That was the only time I ever heard Atticus say it was a sin to do something, and I asked Miss Maudie about it. "Your father's right," she said. "Mockingbirds don't do but one thing, make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird."